In this video, we're going to present to you how to mount samples for nanoindentation. I have a few examples here that we'll start off by showing. We have a copper block mounted to a 1 1/4 inch sample stub. We also have some samples that were mounted using the hot press in the Department of Material Science. And today I'm going to show you how to mount a more unique type of sample, which would be something more like a silicon wafer or some type of low profile sample. So let's go ahead and get started. Let's look at the safety gear that you're going to require for the mounting procedure. You will need a set of gloves along with safety glasses. And the reason that we're going to need those is because we're going to be cutting up samples along with glass slides for use in our mounting procedure. The tools that you need, you'll need a glass cutter. I have one here. A pair of tweezers. A pair of channel locks so that you can remove the sample stubs from the hot plate without being burned. And then you're also going to want an aluminum plate. This is for cooling the sample stubs after your samples are mounted. There are a couple of ways that we can mount samples. We can mount them directly to the sample stubs as they are heated on the hot plate. And for that, we would use a material called crystal bond, which is a hot melt wax that allows you to mount your samples at 70 degrees Celsius. If we have samples that are not heat sensitive, then it's a very easy process to mount those samples just by applying some adhesive to these sample stubs and then laying your sample directly onto that stub and allowing it to cure. Whenever you have finished mounting the sample, you would relocate that sample stub to the aluminum plate so that it can cool, and you would not want to touch it because it's obviously very hot. To mount these samples that are wafers, we're going to take a slightly different approach, and we want to be able to mount those while they are cool. To perform that mounting, we're going to use a glass slide and put it directly on top of this sample stub. That's the first step. So we apply some adhesive on each one of our sample stubs. And I will expose some additional adhesive just by pulling the cardboard protective layer back from the adhesive stick for the crystal bond. So we now have hot melt wax on each one of those. Let's go ahead and don our safety glasses along with our protective gloves. And let's cut a 1-inch square piece of glass from a standard glass slide. To do that, we take our cutting tool and we're going to score the glass slide as so. Put it on the corner and simply break off the 1-inch square. To apply it to our sample stub, I'm going to use tweezers so that we don't come in contact with a hot sample stub. And we're going to repeat that for each one of the sample stubs that we have. The purpose of the glass slide is so that whenever we cool this sample stub off, we can epoxy our samples to the glass slide as opposed to epoxying them directly to the sample stub itself. When it comes time to remove those samples from the sample stub, you'll be very happy that you used the glass slide as opposed to epoxying them directly to the sample stub. Reason why is because when you go to remove those samples, right now we'll be able, with a glass slide mounted, we can just heat the sample stub back off and slide those samples off of the sample stub. Other than that, you would have to take it to the machine shop and have them actually cut those samples off if they had been epoxied on. So those samples are curing right now. The sample stubs, they're cooling off to where we can actually use them for mounting. Let's go ahead and turn the hot plate off because we're finished with that. And let's prep our samples for mounting.